Good morning. Morning. My name is Patricia Devine, and my pronouns are she and her. I am your worship associate this morning. I am delighted to welcome you here, whether you are visiting, you are a member, or you are participating through the Zoom or YouTube. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask one of the greeters. Also, if you're visiting, you may want to visit us again to experience a variety of worship we offer. Today, we acknowledge that we are located in a place that was once the Wampanoag village of Pawtuxet. We strive to follow their example and to be faithful stewards of this sacred land. The title for today's service is You Can Do This Hard Thing, led by Vaughn Keller. Our service is recorded. The candles section will be edited out so that while we're in service, we can feel comfortable and free to share. The service is then posted on our Facebook page and on YouTube. Whoever you are, whomever you love, whatever you believe, wherever you are on your journey, let us walk together this hour. The call to worship this morning is a responsive reading. The words for this reading are in your order of service. Let me not pray to be sheltered from dangers,
but to be fearless in facing them.
Let me not beg for the stirring of my pain,
but for the heart to conquer it.
Let me not look for allies in life's battlefield,
but to my own strength.
Let me not crave in anxious fear to be saved,
but hope for the patience to win my freedom.
Grant me that I may not be a coward, feeling your mercy in my success alone,
but let me find the grasp of your hand in my failure.
Please stand as you are willing and able so we can recite our covenant together. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant,
to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in freedom, to speak the truth in love, and to help one another.
Please remain standing for hymn number 97, Sometimes I Feel Like a Motherless Child. I invite the choir forward.
Sometimes I feel
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. So as I was getting ready for the service this morning, I looked through one of my buckets of t-shirts. And when I got here, I saw t-shirts with meaning, and it made me smile. But I want you to read my t-shirt.
I resist, I will fight hatred, I will fight intolerance, I will fight sexism, I will fight racism, I will fight homophobia, I will fight anger, I will even fight for those who don't agree with me.
Good reminders. And then I found a story, a true events story. It was titled, Do the Next Thing with Love. December 14th, 2012, Sandy Hook, was a date many of us will always remember. The next day, the kids at my school were trying to wrap their heads around the news as they heard it. Their parents kept crying. They wanted to know why their parents were so sad. I told them I was crying for a really big group of people who had died in the night. 50 people. We got out their blocks to count and see what 50 looked like. We all agreed that 50 was an awful lot. I set one block aside and explained that one person had killed the others with a gun. Why? Who were they? The kids wanted to know. They're like us, I said, and different too. They were Latina like your aunt and cousins, homosexual like your parents, Black like our neighbors, Muslim like your uncle, trans like some of our friends. They were mothers, dads, parents, and sons and daughters and beloved adult children, siblings, partners, and friends. I asked if they wanted to send good wishes to the people that died. They thought and they thought. They looked at each other, hoping for an answer. Yes, let's send good wishes. So we did. We even made posters and cards and sent them to the school. The next day, I wasn't surprised when the mom of one of my students plopped down on the bench next to me during pickup. I was surprised when she handed me a small paper plate, heaped high with homemade muffins, secured with cling wrap. I laughed for the first time in nearly 2 days. Thanks. What's this for? I asked. Her eyes got red. I just didn't know what else to do. What do we do when we face evil? Anything? Everything? Pray, protest, bake, hug, grieve, wail, laugh, cry, explain, linger, research, fight, cry. What we absolutely must not do is ignore it. My daughter, who was in high school, had arrived to my school at the end of her day in time to see this. My daughter asked, "Why did she make us muffins?" "Because she loves us," I explained, "just the way we are." "Love is the most important thing," she affirmed. "When you don't know what else to do, do the next thing, no matter how hard, with love." Now I'm going to meet the children upstairs.
We're going to sing anyway.
with my head in my hands, a column of numbers I just did not understand. You said add these together, carry the two. Now you can do this hard thing. You can do this hard thing. It's not easy, I know, but I believe that it's so. You can do this hard thing. At a cold winter station, breathing into our gloves, it would change me forever, leaving for God knows what. You carried my bags, you said I'll wait for you. You can do this hard thing. You can do this hard thing. It's not easy, I know, but I believe that it's so. You can do this hard thing. Late at night I called, and you answered the phone. The worst it had happened, and I did not want to be alone. You quietly listened, you said we'll see this through. You can do this hard thing. You can do this hard thing. It's not easy, I know, but I believe that it's so. You can do this hard thing. Stand breathless and pressed in hard times, hearts hung like laundry on backyard clotheslines. Impossible just takes a little more time. From the muddy ground comes a green volunteer, in a place we thought barren, new life appears. Morning will come whistling some comforting tune for you. You can do this hard thing. You can do this hard thing. It's not easy, I know, but I believe that it's so. You can do this hard thing.
I think most parents can relate, especially to the opening. I want to start off this morning by connecting some dots. As I get older, I feel it more important that I do so for myself so I know where I'm going. A couple of years ago, I led a book group using Parker Palmer's book, On the Brink of Everything, Grace, Gravity, and Getting Old. A very appropriate book for an octogenarian like moi. In the book, Palmer talks about the need to maintain and establish relationships with younger folks, a generation or two behind. And he speaks very specifically about a young woman who had come into his life who he had that kind of relationship with. And of course, it was Carrie Newcomer. Newcomer, I love the fact that that's her name. And the basic theme in the book and of connecting with younger folks is that they live in a different world than we do, those of us of this age. And sometimes it's hard to fathom that my children live in a different world than I do. They see the world differently, they experience it differently. And when I open myself up to that, I go, oh my God, that's true. They actually see things differently than I do, and they want to change things. Heaven forfend. Now, based on Parker Palmer's recommendation, I started to follow the music of Carrie Newcomer, and I used one of her pieces at my Thanksgiving service, Room at the Table. You may remember it. I love that song. More recently, I came across this one, You Can Do the Hard Thing, and I was touched by it. It's a simple affirmation of how we can respond to someone who is struggling. You can do this hard thing. It's not easy, I know, but I believe that it's so. You can do this hard thing. Notice that there are two elements to the message. The first is empathy. It's not easy, I know. And then the affirmation. But you can do this hard thing. Now, the lyrics are written from the position of a child reflecting upon what their parent has told them. But I think that the message goes far beyond parent and child. I think as adults, we also need that message. Last November, it became very personal for me. I was advised to have a stent put into one of my coronary vessels, a relatively simple, easy procedure today. The definition, of course, of minor surgery is something done on somebody else. But back in 1993, it was not common. And way back then, when they attempted to put one in a occluded vessel in my heart, the one they lovingly refer to as the Widowmaker, the cardiologist had a very difficult time. Now, something you may not know, but when they put a stent in, you were wide awake. You're not out, you're wide awake, because you have to help with some breathing at different times. So, the cardiologist was having a tough time. And here's what I heard from the bottom of the table. He was going in through my groin. F-bombs. Oh, shucks. Well, he wasn't saying shucks. And I'm awake through all of this. Well, 2 days later, the stent failed, and I was rushed off for an emergency bypass. So this past November, when my cardiologist suggested I go in and get a stent implanted, you can imagine what my reaction was. I was less than excited about the prospect. Leading up to it, I debated not doing it. I hemmed, I hawed, until finally in December, I decided, okay, I'm going through with this. And then in January, finally had it done. Now, what helped me get through? Melody and I adopted the mantra, you can do this hard thing. And she kept saying that to me and saying it to me. Connecting the dots. It's not just kids that go through hard things. As adults, we all have hard things to do. Some of them are physical, having to do with disease and changes in our bodies. Some of them are emotional. Some of them are political. Think of what we're going through politically and the hard thing of getting through this. Friends die, jobs go away. Maintaining optimism can be difficult. Some hard things are internal. Recognizing the vulnerabilities, not just in ourselves, but in our friends, our family. For me, one of the hardest things is when something's going on with one of my children, and I have to witness this, and just staying there, struggling to control my own anxiety so that they don't have to deal with my anxiety. I can just be there for them. I'm going to ask you to take a minute. Focus on yourself right now. What hard things are you struggling with right now in your life? Just take a minute and just focus on that. And then shift to those who you love. And what hard things are they struggling with? And back to the song. You can do this hard thing. It's not easy, I know. But I believe it's so. You can do this hard thing. Who needs to hear that from you today? And who do you need to say it to you? Many years ago, when I was in training to be a psychotherapist, the training program required us to be a member of a therapy group. On one of our weekend retreats, our trainer told us to bring with us a picture of ourselves back from the time we were, around 5 years old, 6 years old, up to 10 years old. And during one session, he asked us to take this picture out and to look at it, and then to focus on some issue we were struggling with at that point. And he said, look at this picture of yourself when you were this young child. Parent yourself. How would you address that young child? Be as loving, as generous to that young child that's still inside of you as you would be if you were the parent. It was a very powerful experience, being that generous to ourselves. Be as empathic and as affirming of yourself as a young child. Be that empathic and affirming to yourself today. It took guts to be vulnerable, because then we had to share all of this in the group. Of course, remember, we were in training. And you can imagine the tears. And you can imagine the openness and the vulnerability. It takes courage to be vulnerable. And it takes courage to be vulnerable enough to say, I need affirmation, that I need it today for myself, in a real way. The difficulty, though, is as adults, can we risk being that vulnerable with those who we love? Can we risk letting them know the fullness of the hard thing we're facing? Can we really open up to that extent? We often let people know the surface of a problem. You will hear that frequently sometimes during joys and concerns. We hear a minute, maybe a minute and a half. But beyond that minute or minute and a half is a whole backstory of what's actually taking place. Just as I told some folks I was getting a stent put in, they didn't know what had happened to me back in 1993. That's the backstory. We all have these backstories about the hard thing that we're going through. But do we let others know the backstory? Do we let the people we love and love us know the backstory? As adults, often that's hard. Being vulnerable takes courage. The Buddhist nun Pema Chodron writes, "As long as we're caught up in always looking for certainty and happiness, rather than honoring the taste and smell and quality of exactly what is happening, as long as we are running away from discomfort, we're going to be caught in a cycle of unhappiness and disappointment, and we will feel weaker and weaker. Instead of asking ourselves, how can I find security and happiness, we could ask ourselves, can I touch the center of my pain? Can I sit with suffering, both yours and mine, without trying to make it go away? Can I stay present to the ache of loss or disgrace, disappointment in all its many forms, and let it open me? This is the trick." I believe this is a religious question and a challenge for every congregation. My long-term minister back in Westport, Connecticut, Frank Hall, used to say, "This church at its best is a place where we can be real to one another." A place where we can be real with one another. Can we be present in that way? And then can we say to ourselves and to those we love, you can do this hard thing. It's not easy, I know, but I believe that it's so. You can do this hard thing. Reality is a nasty little bugger. Let's face it. We can't wish it away. Pulling the blanket up over our head only works for so long. Can I be one with my vulnerability? Can I be one with yours? For it to be real, though, and again that word real, I have to know you. I have to see you. I have to touch you. You have to tell me. And that's the hard part for me to respond. I am not an abstraction to you. You are not an abstraction to me. You can't know me unless I let you do it, though. You can't know me unless I let you see me. Vulnerability. And that takes courage. And here's the challenge for us as a loving community. Can we be real with one another? Do we dare? Is this a place where I can come with all of my warts and foibles, strengths, my total self, and be me? When I'm hurting, when I'm in trouble, when I'm happy, all of it. Today, right now, can I be that? Now, sometimes the hard thing is internal, the very way we think. And when that's the case, we often discover it not because we're being so great, but because of some interaction with someone else. Attitudes. The problem with attitudes is that often we don't even see them in ourselves. I'm going to give you an example. And the time period for this example is important. Roll back the time. Some of you can do it. Some of you can't do it as well. But roll back the time to the 1980s. Okay? Same group process I was talking about in a minute. In this training group was a fellow named Rick. He and I were the oldest members of the group by about a decade. He had a PhD in organizational behavior. I was working on mine. He was the head of organizational development at a huge bank. I was doing the same work at Planned Parenthood at the national office. So it was natural that the two of us bonded. You know, we were the oldest in the group. We had similar professions going on. And so it made sense also that we would room together when we had these weekend retreats for the therapy group. Eventually, Rick opened up in the group that he was bisexual. Now remember, this is in the 1980s. So in the 1980s, that was a big deal. And during one retreat, the two of us were walking around the lake at the retreat center during a break when a young couple walked in ahead of us holding hands. And Rick made the comment to me, you know, if I'm with a woman, I can do that. I said, what? Hold hands like that. But if I'm with my boyfriend, I can't. We get all sorts of looks and comments. I was totally taken back by his comment. In that instant, I realized he was talking about me. I saw in stark relief the gap between my liberal beliefs and my attitude. I had adopted, inhaled perhaps, no, I'm a member of a Unitarian Church in Westport at this point, the 1980s liberal attitude of, I have nothing against gays and don't care what they do behind closed doors. I'm sure you heard of that. Closed doors. No public displays of affection. They made me feel uncomfortable. Today, almost 40 years later, acknowledging that makes me feel embarrassed. But that was my attitude. Changing attitudes is sometimes the hardest thing we have to do. Seeing the world differently, accepting that we need to change. And we can do that hard thing. It's not easy. Changing our own attitudes is one of the toughest things that any of us ever have to do. And we need the affirmations to do it. I was lucky. As I went through about the process, I had people like Rick in my life who just were gentle and gradually helped me to understand and to do something that was hard. Doing the hard thing is often brought about by change in our environment where it comes at us. Now I want to add a dot. In the literary world that I like to think myself somewhat a part of, there is a very typical plot line, and you will all recognize it immediately. A stranger walked into town, or a stranger rode into town. Now, in the Western, of course, it's the stranger rode into town. Okay, in a detective story, it's, well, they walked into the office or something happened, all right? Well, we have a stranger riding into town this August. And her name is Rumni Saha. And like many Westerns, we're hoping this gunslinger is not going to get rid of the bad guys, but is going to bring in the good guys. Talk about having a hard thing to do. We haven't been able to do it. So you get the point. Doing a hard thing and the need for affirmation. The need for affirmation and also confronting our own attitudes towards change. And we are going to be called upon to do hard things, as well as the excitement. It's both. It's both, which is wonderful. The common thread about doing the hard thing is change. It's change that makes us have to engage it And it's also change that can help us get through it. Doesn't matter whether it's a health issue that brings about the change, a child going through a hard time because something's changed in their life, or a change in the environment, like a government getting elected that makes us go absolutely crazy with outrage. We're always going to be doing hard things. Now, fortunately, there are tools to help. First is curiosity. One of the things that I love about Buddhism is it says, be curious about yourself. Really go deep, looking within yourself to be curious. Some of us are journal writers, and that's how we're curious about ourselves. That's how we reflect. Others of us use different methods to reflect. But being curious about ourselves is a tool. And then being curious about what this change is, understanding it. I learned more about stents than I care to know anymore. But rather than being just a passive respondent to change, actively being curious. And the second tool is affirmation. Now, a bit of science here. In research on how people change, we know that empathy is important, but affirmation is even more powerful in helping people change. Affirmation. One person to another affirming, I know you can do this. I believe that is so. You can do this hard thing. I do like the song. I do like the message. I confess, the first time I saw the song, I got teary because of the kids, and thinking of my own kids. Close your eyes for a second and just feel the words. You can do this hard thing. It's not easy, I know. But I believe that it's so. You can do this hard thing. Whether you're saying it to yourself or to someone you love, or you need to have it said to you by someone you love. And we can ask for it. We can ask for affirmation from those we love. Thank you. And thank you, Carrie Newcomer, for your lovely song.
Now is the time for our offering. Let us commit to ourselves and to all of our community that what we gather collectively will do a greater good for ourselves and our community than it could have done alone. Let us proceed.
This is the time in our service when we invite those that wish to come forward and share a personal joy, celebration, concern, or sorrow with the congregation. We invite you to come forward. Please just share your name and speak into the microphone so that everybody can hear, and I will light a candle for you. And I'm lighting this final candle for all the joys and sorrows that we have in our hearts but haven't been spoken out loud today. As we go forward, may we hold each other in our hearts and to help each other when we need to do the hard thing.
Let us just take a moment to reflect on what we have just heard. Come into this circle of caring. Come into this community of gentleness, of justice, and love. Come, and you will be refreshed. Let the healing power of this people penetrate you. Let loving kindness and joy pass through you. Let hope infuse you, and peace be the law of your heart. In this human circle, caring is a calling, and all of us are called. So come into this circle of caring.
Please remain seated for our Song of Inspiration. I do invite the choir to come up. I know this rose will open. The choir will sing it once through, and then we invite everyone to join us for 3 more times.
I know this
We leave this gathered community, but we don't leave our connection, our concerns, our cares for each other, our service to each other, to the world, and to our faith. That all continues. Until we are together again, friends, be strong, be well, be true, be loving.